Okay. Disaster was averted, everyone. Ben DiNucci is back on the practice squad. Thank the stars, the football gods, because I was out. I was out on the Broncos when they cut DiNucci. But he's back. Today, we're going to predict when exactly Ben DiNucci will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I should make an intro that has something about Let's Talk Broncos when we do this together, but, screw it.
It's not necessary.
Nah. You guys went over 500 subs, though, right?
We did. Thank you guys.
That's good.
Now,
Thank you all.
600. So if you're just joining us every Wednesday, me or Will and I will be doing the podcast with Let's Talk Broncos. We got Bree, we got Joey, we got Zach. Make sure you subscribe to their Broncos YouTube channel because they're doing tons of videos every week, all Broncos related. So it's a fit. Like, this wouldn't be a good fit if you guys were, I don't know, Cardinals fans or Jags fans, but I was
or
like
Saints fans, maybe.
Yeah. It's like,
close.
Let me do a Broncos podcast with Saints. Actually, there is a little crossover there now. But today we're doing bold predictions for the season. Is that what's happening? Bree, take it over. Tell me what we're doing.
Today, we're going to be talking bold predictions for the Denver Broncos for the 2023 season. Last year, we did something similar over on Let's Talk Broncos. It's a lot of fun because you get to give your prediction and the rest of us get to react to it and take or leave the bet. So if we think your bold prediction's a little too rich for our blood, we're going to go ahead and leave that bet. I think Zach Seegers won last season. We did keep preseason in there, so that's still up in the air. Joey and I
I'm getting blown out this preseason, though. I'm like down 0-14 through 3 weeks of the preseason, so it's looking dicey.
And also, we did not count the preseason, Bree, in my brain. I don't know, like the preseason games don't count, so why it just doesn't make sense to me. Zach is a thief. Anyways, continue.
A thief of joy. That is true. Whether he's muted or not, Zach Seegers will still your joy. I see he's already being called out in the chat over there. Zach, they don't want you to be a negative Nancy of sorts today, but I think you're just keeping it real.
I've got wildly positive predictions across the board. You guys will be thrilled. Just wait.
Actually, before we even go into the predictions, and maybe you guys already covered this, but haven't talked about it here quite yet. Roster cuts happened yesterday. Okay, so Albert O traded away. We thought he was released, but then the Broncos trade him. They got a 6th rounder from the Eagles for him. Is that what it was?
They traded a 7th and got a 6th.
That's right.
Yep, 1 round trade up.
And so that was big. We were wondering whether he would make it, but I think it's actually a better fit for him going to Philly. So happy for Albert O. That one, not too surprising. We knew he was on the bubble. We knew Brett Maher hadn't solidified his job. And I want to hound on kickers again to keep in theme with the last 2 episodes. They release him. They bring in Wil Lutz, who has had a couple great seasons as a kicker, like our man, Brandon McManus, right? Also some big-time clutch kicks. But also like McManus, not a good year last year. All the Saints fans told me he's injured. He was injured. I know 2021, he was out all season with an injury. I don't know the extent of his injury last year, but he was one of the few kickers with an even shittier field goal percentage last season. So to me, I like the possibility that he can get back to being where he was in 2019 or whatever. I think he's got the clutch gene in him, and I wasn't sure about that with Brett Maher, so I think it's an upgrade there. But it feels like we just kind of got Brandon McManus back in terms of where those 2 kickers are currently at with their production. I saw you drop some good stats about kickers, Zach. What was your feel about the Wil Lutz signing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty gross. I like the idea of trading for kicker sustainability, and I ultimately don't think it'll hurt the Broncos all that much. But Wil Lutz has not been a good kicker for 3 years. And it goes back to before that core injury that's hurt him these last 2 years. He suffered that in January of 2021, I think January 3rd to be precise. So played the whole 2020 season just about without that injury. And that's when the big decline started for him. Sean Payton's going to be well sourced. I'm sorry, it's the numbers. I'm not making things up. It's literally the numbers. I didn't control the fact that he's 31st in the NFL last year in field goal accuracy, or that he didn't play at all in 2021, or that he was 21st in accuracy in 2020 when he was fully healthy. I don't love that. I think they could have done. Brett Maher was the best kicker of the three. It seems the only concern, even when you factor in that awful playoff game and the Arizona Cardinals misses, he's been kicking better than Wil Lutz in recent history. So I don't know. Why do we suddenly think a player is going to return to 2019 form, and who else are we giving that benefit of the doubt to?
Because
that's a good point. I think we got to look at it the way you remember when we had Tebow and Orton, and we were like, why don't we just let Kyle Orton play until we get to the 20-yard line and then put in Tebow for the red zone offense, and we would have just a really good all-around offense. Same approach for the kickers. Should have had Brett Maher all regular season, and then you trade for Wil Lutz if the Broncos get into the postseason.
That's not instilling a lot of confidence.
To come back, Zach, a little bit, I have to say this, though. With Maher, when you miss matters. When you miss matters. And the guy made one extra point in 7 tries in the playoffs. After that, that's the last time we saw that man. So I think that I don't know, like that he might have a little of the Ben Simmons. I said it before, like a little bit of the Ben Simmons. Maybe
players have down games all the time.
But Bree, after that performance, you can't go into the preseason miss anything. That's reason to get rid of you. Now, who's ignoring the Lutz thing? Like that. That's
last season. The gap between Wil Lutz and Brett Maher was worth 18 points in favor of Brett Maher. You got to get to the playoffs first. And you know what? If the Broncos were to keep Brett Maher, win a couple close games thanks to his kicks, kicking accuracy, make the playoffs, and then he totally melts down in the wild card round, I'd take that at this point because the Broncos have the second longest playoff drought in the NFL. Let's get back to the playoffs before we worry about choking in the playoffs.
But Zach, I do have to say, Wil Lutz didn't make the playoffs. Brett Maher did. Stats close. If we want to talk about stats, he had like 12 attempts out there. Stats close.
Wil Lutz to come out and say, though, that a lot of that was the mentality of coming back into the league, feeling like a rookie again. So maybe 2022 is behind him. 2023 is going to be a different season. I just felt it was really strange to move on from Maher when he was doing so well, regardless of Joey's very personal claim that he is somehow unclutch under circumstances. I don't believe it. Zach's data doesn't back it up. I think I'm kind of shocked by this turnout. Feels a little fishy to me.
Let us dream, Jacobs. Our dreams. This is the week to talk about playoffs because we haven't seen a regular season football game, so we can be as optimistic as we want. Last question before we make our predictions. After all the cuts, Broncos, just 4 guys in the receiving room, one of which is the currently injured Jerry Jeudy. And we all know, like, if you pay close attention to football, you know that doesn't mean a lot. But if you don't, you see 4 receivers, you're like, what the hell are they doing? They're going to sign some guys on the practice squad. Who they activate, like, I don't know. I don't care. What are your thoughts about some of the players they brought back on the practice squad at the receiver position after basically cutting everybody, including Hall of Famer Kendall Hinton, which was unnecessary?
Yeah.
I really liked the summer that Lil Jordan Humphrey had. I'm glad he came back. I think of that weird kind of 5 through 8 bunch that is healthy, because you got to cross off Jalen Virgil and some of those guys. I think he was having the most impressive summer. So I'm glad he's back in the fold. None of these guys, I think you can feel very confident about. They are all, I think, in that Philip Dorsett tier, the guy they just took away from the Raiders. These guys made it to the Broncos practice squad for a reason. Every team in the NFL had an opportunity to add them to their 53-man roster, to add them to their own receiving core, to make them their wide receiver 6. And they went, no. these players will be competing to be the Broncos wide receiver 4, 5, and 6 on Sunday. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Sean Payton's going to be using a lot more heavy personnel. But I do think there's something to say in the modern NFL, you need a lot of weapons, and that's going to come from the running back group for the Broncos, maybe some from the tight end group for the Broncos, but you need more than 3 pass catchers in the modern NFL. You'd like some guys that can be used in different situations. I don't know. I'm not loving how shallow that room is now. Hopefully this is a sign that Jerry Jeudy is going to be healthy sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I mean, it was big news that he wasn't thrown on the IR at all, right? Like that was big news that he could come back within the next 4 weeks. Because if he was thrown on the PUP list, it would have been an issue. We would have known that he couldn't come back. So yeah, I agree, Zach. I think that hopefully Jerry Jeudy comes back sooner than later because it's definitely concerning.
And so it's Sutton, it's Jeudy, it's Marvin Mims, Brandon Johnson, and Philip Dorsett are on the active roster right now, right? And honestly, if McDaniels doesn't want a player like Philip Dorsett, I trust that player's going to be pretty good.
That's a good point, Brandon. I mean, McDaniels doesn't know what he's doing.
But if it was only McDaniels, I'm with you. Where I posit that it's been
most recently
all around the league.
You just anointed him. Going to succeed with the Broncos.
He's the Ish Smith of the NFL.
Just want to point out that Dorsett is actually on the practice squad. It was a little confusing this morning when Mike Kliss tweeted out that he was being brought onto the practice squad. So it will be interesting. But I want to touch on the idea that there's only 4 wide receivers on the Broncos roster right now. I don't think that's going to stay the way that it is right now. I do think they will bring somebody up. Who that is will probably be Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think he had the most impressive camp out of the batch available right now. Lil Hump, jersey still available, I think.
Oh, we got to get the Lil Hump jerseys made. You're right.
Got to get those going. Exactly. But the idea that Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos offense is actually going to be kind of bolstered by the running back unit and the tight ends. I don't know if they need to rely heavily on the wide receiver group to make the offense any more serviceable than I think it's going to be this year. I don't think there's a big concern. We knew from the get-go Sean Payton's identity was going to be a ground run game. So I think run heavy, run first, run often, all the other adjectives you can throw in there, that they don't really have to worry about the wide receiver group. When Tim Patrick went down, that was the main concern because that was your most impactful wide receiver. Now we're seeing that, maybe they can do without because the running game is just that good.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
Bree, I feel like you're setting me up for my bold prediction right now.
Let's start it.
Let's go into it. Joey Richards with the first bold prediction for the Denver Broncos 2023 season. Give it to us.
Okay. My big bold prediction. Bree, you laid it out perfect. Sean Payton, he's going to want a run-first offense this year. When I look at the Broncos running backs, I'm very optimistic, extremely optimistic. We all saw what Jaleel McLaughlin did out there. We all know Javonte Williams. Samaje Perine's a good running back. Offensive line looks better. I mean, who doesn't feel confident in Quinn Miners? I think when I look at even Mike McGlinchey, I know he's a good run blocker. Ben Powers. These are guys that I'm excited about. I think the Broncos are going to finish top 2 in rushing yards this next season. Yeah.
Whoa.
That's my bold prediction.
Whoa.
Top 2. I'm not going to give them one. And I also have to say the Russell Wilson's pounds lost also equates in there. I'm just going rushing yards in general. I think that this team
yards for every pound he lost is what you're saying.
Exactly.
For context sake, the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL last year, it was a tight race between the Ravens and the Falcons, who finished in second and third with 2,720 rushing yards and 2,718 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Don't forget weren't the Bears?
The Bears led with 3,000. Yeah.
3,000. Okay.
So
now,
it's pretty good.
The thing you got to think about there too, right, is like the Bears had 1,000 yards from their quarterback. The Ravens had 700 from Lamar Jackson before he got hurt. The Falcons were like the one, I guess Mariota had some, but like they were the one true just running team.
And they've got Arthur Smith.
Yeah, Denver's going to have to be like the Falcons there, right? So 2,700 to kind of get in the conversation.
Yeah, at least 2,500. Fourth was the Giants at 2,519. Fifth is the Eagles at 2,509. Then the Browns at 2,490. So I think at least in that 2,500 range. Last year, the Broncos had 1,935, ranked in the bottom half of the league. I kind of love this. I like the vision, but I think they will be a great rushing offense. That's a little too rich for my blood. I don't think we're going to see the Ravens rushing offense drop off a cliff, or the Falcons. They just got Bijan Robinson, or the Giants, or the Eagles, or the Browns, or the 49ers, some of the NFL's elite rushing offenses. So I'm going to fade your bet, Joey. I'm going to bet against you here.
Respect.
The Eagles just got a new tight end with some blocking capability. I think we could put that narrative to rest there. I would have thought they were higher up on that list. So now I'm rethinking. It was a little rich for my blood. I thought you were going to go with like maybe top 5. Top 2 is insane to me. You're basically saying that you almost guarantee, because you said not going to give them first. So you're guaranteeing second place in rushing yards for the Denver Broncos, which is, it's too rich for my blood. So I have to fade it.
I think I personally think we're all underestimating Russell Wilson's ability to scramble.
It's Russell.
I really do. Wilson. This is a guy that has had 800 yards in a season before running the football. This is and then you're thinking about last year, guys. We brought up, hey, the Broncos they were in the second half of the league running last year. I watched the top 10 Broncos plays on YouTube the other day of this last season. Marlon Mack and Levant and Murray, they took up half of that list. We got Jaleel McLaughlin, Samaje Perine. We got Javonte Williams back. Like, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with it. I really am. You know what? They were an average, a little below average rushing offense last year. And I literally think that the Broncos' third best running back this year is going to be is a better football player than the one that was starting for the majority of the games last year. That is my opinion.
Fair enough. I think factoring in Jaleel McLaughlin for that rushing total, it could work. It's like just put Javonte. I was going to say like over 1,000 yards is kind of like your metric for Javonte and having a good bounce back season.
Right.
So let's say he can Javonte gets 1,100. Okay. And then what? 600 from Samaje. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, 400 or 500 there. You're getting close. And then Russ only needs like 300 yards, and you're talking about getting into that top 2 spot. I think top 5 would be very, very good for the Broncos. Again, I just want a run that's over 20 yards week 1. So since you got faded twice, I'm going to roll with you, though, Joey. We'll go top 2. We'll go top 2.
Let's go.
I'll go with you. You talked me into it.
Let's talk about Russell Wilson rushing yards, though. I had to pull it up real quick because I'm feeling a little scared about that one. I think that's the outlier, the alienator for Joey's bet here. 2018, 376. All right. 2020, 513. Last year, 183. Not to say that it won't bounce back, but you got to double those numbers from last season. It's a little too close for comfort. I don't love it.
Yeah,
I think we've already seen that he's going to be allowed to run more in his limited time than allowed or was wanting to do last year. So I think he's willing to accept that's just more part of his game now, and it needs to be. It's a great place if you're looking at fantasy points and you want to go higher or lower. It's Underdog Fantasy. You can sign up with our link in the description, the code Let's Ride. This is the only Let's Ride code on earth. Can't guarantee that's true, but it feels pretty true. Sign up with Underdog, higher or lower fantasy stat totals every week. I'm going to be doing that with the Broncos. And there's 1 week left to get into their Best Ball Mania tournament, which is the biggest fantasy tournament on earth. First place prize, $3 million, $15 million in total prizes, plus weekly winners, where you're doing best ball. So you draft your team once. You're just drafting one team. Underdog uses your best point total every week. You don't do shit. You don't manage your roster. Once you draft it, it's done. And all you got to do is win. Be number 1 in that 1 week, and you can win $20,000 with weekly winner contests. So, again, use the code Let's Ride. Sign up with the link below. My bold prediction, I'm just going to throw it out there. Wil Lutz makes 90% of his field goals this year.
I love it. Hey, you know what?
90.
You got on my little bandwagon over here. I'm right back over there. Just because I know it's gonna piss Bree and Zach off because I've been in the group chat with them. I'm right in there. I agree. Wil Lutz, he had the core injury. I also want to mention there were a total of 5 teams reported interested in trading for Wil Lutz. What does that tell you guys? The league thinks he's good.
Well, 2 of them had to be the Patriots and Titans, right?
I mean, that's very true. Yeah. But let's throw that out the window because we're trying to make a case. I think Wil Lutz is going to make 90% this year. I'm on the board. I think he's coming back.
I like the 90% prediction. I think it's very, very bold because even when Wil Lutz was elite, playing at an elite level from 2016 to 2019, he hit that 90% mark just once. It was like when he was the best kicker in the league back in 2018. He went 28 for 30, 93.3%. I've got to fade it. I can't double back on what I said the entire show. Also, Maher is not still out there. He just got signed by the Rams.
The Rams,
and he's gonna do great for the Rams this year. I'll even say Maher has a better percentage than Lutz. Not only will I fade, I'll throw that out.
You took where I was going with that, Zach. I 1,000% agree with Zach's bold prediction there. I do think Maher will outproduce Wil Lutz. I'm just not certain of the bounce back there. I'm going to have to fade you because I don't love the idea. I just don't think that you should have moved off, and it goes against everything that I've said thus far, so I'm not going to double back on my stance. I do think it's a crazy move that the Broncos made. I think they let the better kicker walk. Perna, what do you think?
Okay. I have questions about it, right? But the reason I believe Wil Lutz will have 90% at least is because I have bitched so much about kickers and bitched so much about them cutting Brandon McManus. And whatever the thing is that I hound on, the complete opposite happens. So Wil Lutz, when you're king of the NFL, kicking king, you thank me, buddy. You thank me.
Yeah.
I want my name mentioned in your acceptance speech do they give awards to kickers at the NFL?
They should. I think they need to create the kicking king crown. I think
they do need that.
The kicking crown.
Great idea. The kicking king.
I think you should start that. I think you should just start handing out awards only to kickers at the end of the season.
Yeah. I tried it with the Big Player Award. It never really caught on. So I'm done handing out awards.
No, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and throw my bold prediction out there since I think it's time. Denver Broncos last year, they lost 5 games in double digits. I think this year with the addition of Sean Payton, a little ironing out of the wrinkles, the run game, they're going to isolate some of those really terrible losses, and they're going to cut that number in half. I believe the Denver Broncos will go under 2.5 losses by double digits next season because I think it just it makes more sense than not if you think they're going to win at least 2 more games because of Sean Payton, and they're probably going to drop less because the defense is not showing a lot of regression. I think it's at all possible, and if anything, it's bold from me.
What's the total again?
2.5.
2 or fewer losses by double digits.
Oh, yeah, I'll ride with that.
I like it a lot.
Games last year too, so and that was with everything going wrong.
Yeah,
I'd say 0 double-digit losses actually.
Whoa. Okay, the one up breed. You match that?
That's pretty bold. So I almost went with that, and then I looked at the numbers, and I felt like the closeness. There's gonna be a game where they just get decimated for some dumb reason. It'll be like the Colts, but instead of 1 point, it's 20 by some god awful last minute mismanagement of the game, and it's a turnover. It'll just be something dumb, and I really don't feel like taking 0 because I don't think 0 is realistic, but it is bold.
I feel like that now that I said that, they're going to get 17 9-point losses.
I'm gonna help jinx this situation and say I'm riding with Breed too. I think they manage it well. If they're losing, it's going to be close. I don't think there's going to be that many games under Sean Payton where you just show up flat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, now I have to decide whether I want to be the negative person. I want to play the villain arc. And yeah, I think I am. I think the Broncos will lose more than 2.5 games by double digits. They could have a good season and still lose 2.5 games more than double digits. Like literally one of those games could be, hey, the Broncos are resting people at the end of the season. Like even if they were good, if they made the playoff.
That's even bolder to say, I think.
It definitely is bolder.
Resting our
It definitely is bolder.
starters.
But I'm
Clinched
trying
the
to
playoff so hard.
I also I also think that I mean, hey, the Broncos are good for a few losses. Like our division's tough. The Broncos could lose 2 immediately from the Chiefs alone, and then it's just one more after that. Broncos haven't beat the Chiefs in forever. When's the last time they came close to the Chiefs? It's like I don't know.
Last year.
Twice last
And the year before.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Joey.
also-
Man,
It
who's the
was-
hater
it
now?
was-
Great points and
Torture
everything.
yourself.
but-
Go
Well-
back and watch Broncos Chiefs game highlights. And even some of the games that weren't close on the score, just go watch how many times the Broncos offense
Screwed it up. Yeah.
gave up points to the Chiefs defense. Fumbles, pick sixes, just so many stupid things where they weren't playing as bad as you would think. It's infuriating. Sorry,
Yeah.
I went on a tangent.
No,
Zach,
you're
what are you
totally right.
saying?
I'm going to go very positive with my bold prediction. Joey said second in rushing yards, and that's very positive. But even more positive than that is first place. I think Patrick Surtain receives at least one first place Defensive Player of the Year vote. Now,
Ooh.
that has happened just 6 times in the last 13 years. So very rare that a cornerback has received a Defensive Player of the Year first place vote. Yeah, we're talking about the very elite guys in that mix. And then Josh Norman somehow snuck in that one year kind of weirdly. But outside of that, just the most elite cornerbacks. I think Patrick Surtain II joins that club this year.
I have to
And
say, I kind of disagree, Zach, just because it's so hard for the cornerback position. Like, you could have one of the best seasons ever at cornerback, and then the stats not show it, and then us not being like in with the Jets, where it's Revis. Everyone's keeping track of the stats game by game, thrown at this many times, and completed this many times. It's going to be really hard. Like, he could have an elite season, no one throw at him have 2 interceptions, and people not care. Yeah, it just is what it is. Hard for me to see a cornerback get there.
It's tough because like a corner doing basically his job the best means the quarterback doesn't throw his way because the guy's covered.
Yeah.
And that's hard to like. Champ Bailey did that for years. They just stopped throwing to the side of the field after like that 10 or 11 interception season he had. But I'm going to go optimistically and ride with Zach and say, yes, he gets that. He gets it.
I am so used to getting my hopes dashed that I don't have any ability to lean into this whatsoever, although I think it should happen. I wish it would happen. I think as long as there's a Micah Parsons in the league, you're going to find that it's really hard to get those votes, although I do believe that he's worthy and deserving of at least one vote. So I'm going to go against you only because I think that sometimes this league is stacked against some of the most talented players because of narrative-based derivative conversations where we're talking about, well, they didn't throw it his direction. He's that impactful. He should get a vote. I just don't think that it happens. Now I'm sad.
I'll say this. If the Broncos are making a push in December or January, I think it's going to be fueled by that defense. Not that the offense will be bad, but I think they'll be good. I think if this team's making the playoffs, it's because the offense is good and the defense is great. And who will be the Broncos' best player on their best unit? Patrick Surtain II. Who will be getting all the love for this amazing turnaround they're having? Sean Payton and Patrick Surtain is my theory. And to the people saying, well, you got to be in New York. Denver's going to get looked over. It doesn't matter because it's a small market in Denver. Champ Bailey, talking about how rare it is for cornerbacks to get those first place votes. It happened twice for Champ Bailey in 2005 and 2006.
Nice.
It happened a third time for him in Washington. I won't even count that because that didn't happen in
in
Denver.
Washington. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Surtain can do it. And it seems like he's coming into his own. I think this offseason was the offseason when Surtain really entered the national spotlight.
Yeah, he got lots of credit from other players, and that helps. All Vance Joseph has to do is blitz Pat Surtain from the cornerback position enough times where he also has 10 sacks.
That
10
would hurt.
sacks at corner.
So that's a big part of it for me too. Thank you, Pern. I almost completely forgot. Vance Joseph, I think, is going to be a lot more aggressive than maybe not Evero, but then Fangio, then some of the Broncos defenses we've seen in years past. I think his greatest strength as a defensive coordinator is his really creative pressure packages. That's going to help create some turnovers and takeaways. You look at those Cardinals defense, despite being absolutely miserable in terms of talent, they've generally created takeaways at a pretty good pace. Plus, Surtain's ball skills are amazing. Any INT of his can be taken back to the house with his tremendous athleticism. I think he's got one of those crazy stat seasons in him.
Can I give some rapid fire, bold predictions, and you guys just tell me higher or lower what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. First one, everybody's been waiting for it. Russell Wilson, higher or lower on 3,500 passing yards?
Oh, lower.
Higher.
Higher. Sorry, I had to find my mute.
Ooh, higher. Only Bree going lower. Russell Wilson, higher or lower 30 passing touchdowns?
Lower.
Lower.
Not
Higher.
lower.
Higher. I'm flipping higher.
Ooh. Jerry Jeudy, higher or lower 1,200 receiving yards?
Oh, lower.
Lower. If he was healthy,
Lower.
I'd be slamming higher, but we're not going to get 17 games out of him, so I got to go lower.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they'll get maybe 16 a regular season before the NFL mess that up.
70 yards a game when he's healthy. I'll say that. I think he's going to be great when he's on the field.
So 3 lowers on Jeudy on 1,200 yards?
Yeah, and it's a pain.
I'm going to say higher, idiots. Higher or lower on how many games Jerry Jeudy misses? 2.
Oh,
Higher.
yeah.
I want it to be lower, but that
I'm going to go lower. I'm going to be the positive one, but I don't think so.
So no, that's not positive. You think he's gonna get less than that, and then also
Lower than 2 games. No. I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I'm gonna go higher as well, unfortunately.
Okay, this was not even higher or lower, but I think it's an interesting question. Who will be the Broncos sack leader this year?
That was one of my bold predictions, Brandon. I think
Oh,
that
sorry.
no,
That's fine.
it's perfect. I'm happy you asked this. It teased me up. I think Randy Gregory, I legitimately think that if he played a healthy season, and I'm hoping that this is finally the year, I'm going to keep betting on it. If he has a healthy season, he's one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL, just in general. I really do think that if he plays 12 games, he's going to lead this team in sacks. That's my take. I think Randy Gregory is going to lead this team.
Do you think Cooper could take the jump?
Yes, I'm a big Jonathan Cooper guy. If anyone's followed me, they know I'm a huge Jonathan Cooper guy. But not more than Randy Gregory. He's not more talented than Randy Gregory. So no.
I don't know if Randy's going to play enough games.
That's why I'm going to say Nick Bonito. Maybe it's absolutely insane. I've totally turned around on Nick Bonito. I'm excited with what we saw this preseason. And okay, so I know he got nicked up this preseason. I'm more concerned about Baron Browning's injury past and Randy Gregory's injury past. And Frank Clark's drop off as a player. He has not had good sack production over recent years. I think there's a great chance Bonito has a breakout season and has. I also think they won't maybe have a guy who gets double digit, but you have a lot of guys in that like 5 to 8 range. And I think maybe Bonito's at 8.5.
What's Baron Browning's injury again?
Was it meniscus, MCL? I think it was a.
So it was a scope in the meniscus, I believe, right?
Maybe.
He's
I'm
starting.
going to say Frank Clark. I'm going to say Frank Clark surprises us, and he's the sack leader. He likes to show up when he wants to show up, and we play the Chiefs twice. I'm saying 7 sacks in those 2 Chiefs games. 10 sacks once we play the Chiefs in the playoffs.
That'd be a beautiful thing.
Wow, you're all about the retribution.
I think he's motivated by vengeance. I really do.
I'm
not a big Frank Clark fan, but I think he's going to sneak in there.
Here we go.
I had a good one earlier.
How
Broncos
many times
defense finishes higher or lower than the 14th best defense in the NFL?
Way higher. Way higher.
Like top 5.
Whoa.
slightly higher.
I'm buying. I have to. I can't
top
back off
five.
the Surtain thing now. All of a sudden, I started off really cold on Vance Joseph this offseason. The more I've looked into him, seeing Damari Mathis went out, I don't know. I've got a lot of faith in this defense. I was really concerned about the front, especially the edge group, and it's looked way better than I thought it would. I'm buying the hype. I think 7. I'd say like 6, 7. Maybe not quite top 5, but just outside that tier.
Okay. Bree?
Yeah, no, top 5 for me. I have no doubts about it. I didn't come in low on Vance Joseph. I didn't lose my straights. I'm a very defensive-minded fan, and I think top 5 is absolutely where those Broncos could land, specifically because second, third, and fourth stringers all looked really strong. They kept the best, and that to me points directly to a defense that just keeps charging on. Can't blame it on the defense this year. Can't blame it on the defense last year. There's going to have to be answers elsewhere because it's not going to be Patrick Surtain, Justin Simmons. They've got this on lockdown.
Yeah, I'm going just slightly higher than that. I think
12.
Yeah,
12, Joey.
12, maybe 11, somewhere in that range. I think I think that Vance Joseph is kind of just a downgrade from Evero at the end of the day. That's kind of my opinion there. So I just think, he's pretty much coaching a defense that he's never actually coached before, like a scheme wise. So it sounds like Christian Parker is a massive help to him. Shout out to Christian Parker. It just, I don't know. I don't have the same faith in Vance Joseph as I do Evero.
Don't forget the linebackers, Marcus Dixon in there doing work. Glad that they retained both of those. I understand the Vance Joseph point. He also didn't have this level of talent on the teams that he coached. This is something he's living in it. He's swimming in it.
Well, the first time he commented that, he kind of did. Kind of did.
I don't think
he had more talent and did less with it.
I disagree.
Oh,
I don't
you
think
just
he had that
commented
level of talent. I think that team had declined a good bit from their 2015 Super Bowl run.
A good bit?
But a good bit, what does that mean? Like, we're talking about one of the best defenses ever to what, like top 10?
I think defenses decline quickly. Like, you look at the Legion of Boom, they were elite for, they had a bit of a run, but 2013, 2014, and then by 2016, they're middle of the league. I don't know. I think it's harder to maintain defense. It's not about offensive play caller and quarterback kind of booing everything else. It's about 11 great pieces. It's like you actually need depth and rotational pieces. It's like having 16 great pieces, and you can't maintain 16 great pieces for several years. I don't think that 2017, 2018 squad was as talented as we made it out to be. They were picking top 5. Like, I don't think that was like a loaded squad.
Same page, Zach.
I think it was pretty good. Just think the offense took a big nosedive.
But it was bad in 2015. It wasn't like they were carried by offense in 2015, and that defense was good enough to win a Super
Bowl. Yeah, but the offense wasn't making a ton of mistakes either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Peyton was in there.
Okay, he
threw against the Chiefs, yes, but
Brock had some. I wonder if I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you tallied it up, it might not be that different.
We'll look into that for another day. Marvin Mims, higher, lower, 800 receiving yards.
Lower.
I would have said lower. I'm going to say higher. I think he's going to be forced into a big role, and I think he's actually going to be ready for it. I think the hamstring got him off to a slow start. He's going to be higher.
Stock up on Mims, baby. Stock up.
Are you happy, Dante? No haterade today.
I feel like they're going to be spreading the ball around so much that you would anticipate that level of talent from Marvin Mims, but I don't think he's going to get enough reps in order to do so. Like, he's going to have to be getting bombs dropped on him to be able to get to that yardage. I just think a lot of the talented players on this roster are going to have their stats dropped this season because there are so many variable weapons and versatility out there.
100% Jordan. Put him on there now.
Can he just be all 4 heads?
Yes. All 4 DiNucci's.
I'm definitely going higher, or I'm definitely going lower on it. I just hard for me to bet on rookies. That's the main thing. Like, hey, he had one really good catch in the preseason. Other than that, the last time I saw him play, it was Oklahoma. Like, it's hard for me to put all my stock into that. So I'm going to go a little lower.
That was more than a good catch, Joey. That was a fantastic tracking skills by Marvin Mims. That was amazing.
No, it was. It was a really good play. And I look forward to more Marvin Mims in the future. I'm just going lower on this year. I think a lot higher in the future.
I think he's wide receiver 2 right now until Jerry Judy's healthy. It's
Right.
like, unless they shake some shit up, but I think he's going to get thrown in the fire weeks 1 and week 2. I think he's going to do well. And then it's going to be like, oh, we got Jeudy and Marvin Mims. And Russ likes to, like, I know Sean Payton's going to want to spread the ball around. Russ likes to hone in on a couple of his targets. So we'll see.
Agreed.
Interesting.
Greg Dulcich, higher, lower, 5 touchdowns.
Higher.
Higher.
I'll go lower on that one. I'll zag. I don't know. I'm worried about his usage still.
I'll Zach. He just verbed himself.
Fair. Okay, those are all my rapid fire that took us 10 minutes.
I like it. It was fun.
The rapid fire 10 minutes.
I have a question for you guys though, really quick. How many times do you think a Broncos player let's ride slip this season? It's already happened once. Wil Lutz ended his Instagram post with it.
Oh, he hadn't gotten the memo yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a lot of players that haven't got the memo. People are
I'm
gonna
saying
be letting
three.
that go.
I was going to say 3. I'll box in honor of Bob Barker. I'll box Bree out here and go 4.
Oh, we're going a lot higher. I think that these players, I think that we might get 3 week 1.
I think 0, unless the Broncos win the Super Bowl. At which point, when Russell Wilson's handed the MVP trophy, he grabs a mic and he goes, "Let's ride, fuckos." And then he just drops it and walks off the stage in the greatest moment of his career. You know how many people would become fans of his again if he can just accomplish that?
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who says fuckos. Also, I would get it tattooed like right here.
That's right, fuckos.
If the season goes well, I don't even think it has to be Super Bowl. I think like if you have one, like I don't know the schedule by heart, like in week 10, if they blow out a divisional rival, by like 20, I could see them in the locker room. We know Sean Payton's locker room raves. I don't know if that's making the trip to Denver, but I could see some Broncos players having some fun, getting a little rowdy, celebrating it, and leaning into the joke of "let's ride," rubbing it in the media's faces. I think it's possible we get a lot of "let's ride" this year if it's a positive season. If it's a negative season, no one's ever going to say it.
I want John Elway to be at the Super Bowl ceremony, and he says, "This one's for Let's Ride." That's how it.
Buccos.
I don't know if Elway's got to say it. Russell Wilson has to swear to make it perfect. Okay.
Just gonna hit this button over here. Well,
Are we done?
I mean, that's all I had.
Is that all you guys got?
That's all I got.
Cool. 43 minutes exactly. We are on schedule.
Perfect.
Don't have Will for our sign off, so I'm just going to say, let's ride, fuckos.